Okay, I think we're online now. Hello and welcome, guys. My name is Kai Christen. I'm the founder of the Lifestyle Design Convention. Today with me is John P. Morgan. Hi, John.
Hey Kai, how you doing?
Hey, mate. We're going to talk about how to find your passion and purpose in life. And it's a little bit a provocative sentence because I know that John is not talking about finding your passion, he's much more talking about creating your passion and purpose. I'm very excited to have John on board. He's a personal coach for leaders. And I like the sentence that you have on your webpage. You utilize deep coaching and real life adventure to support powerful people around the world in creating impact and success by living and leading with love. And
It's a mouthful, but yeah.
yeah, and I could experience that firsthand. I did a coaching with John for a little bit of email coaching and then 1 hour of coaching myself. And what I experienced was an extremely present coach. I've never experienced such a present person. Like you could feel like you're just he's there for you for 1 hour, which I found quite fascinating because I struggle with that a lot myself to really be present with a client at all times. And the second thing that struck me was the kind of insights that I had very quickly during the coaching call we did together, and also the very emotional insights that I had that I realized myself that I just wanted to help people, which was my basic biggest insights. And yeah, I thought we have to drag this guy out to a webinar so he can share his wisdom with you guys. The most important part about this kind of webinar is that you guys ask questions. So if you look on the right side of your screen, you have this chat window where you can ask us, where you can ask especially John all the questions that you have. And I suggest you really, really use it because that's the more questions you guys ask, the more interesting this webinar is going to be. And yeah, we're going to have around 45 minutes, and I'm going to stop talking now because I want to hear a little bit about John's journey. I'm sure you guys are interested as well. So yeah, John, my first question for you would be like, how did you get into coaching? Like just a really quick overview, and then like what do you do with clients?
Yeah, cool. It's always kind of fun to tell how I got into it because it was by accident. I was into magic. First I was into kind of David Blaine card tricks and stuff and the street magic, and then I got into more of a psychological magic like Darren Brown type stuff, and then that led me into psychological influence courses and NLP and hypnosis, and through studying that stuff I kind of stumbled onto the coaching world. And at that time I had been running a web development company doing some work with charities, and people had always asked me for kind of help and stuff because I had my own business where living out of a backpack, traveling for many years. People always asked me for how do you do this, like, traveling lifestyle, and I was always kind of helping people. So then this idea that I could help people and have it be my career, it's just kind of good timing. So I started playing with that. That was about 5 years ago. What was the other question?
And the second one was, I just asked people out there whether it works. It works. That's good.
Oh
And
yeah.
my second question was, what exactly? How does a coaching with you look like? Because we're gonna go into the topic of passion purpose later. But for me, it would be interesting to, from your perspective, what do you do with people? Because you talk about real life adventure and deep coaching.
Yeah, like it's funny, this word coaching, it's everybody that I'm glad you asked because everybody that uses the word probably does something different. And so for me it means um, having a heart-to-heart conversation with people, and when I mean heart-to-heart, I mean it's something that doesn't usually happen. I don't even have it with most of my friends, to be honest. I look at coaching as something deeper than friendship, more intimate than friendship, often more intimate than a personal relationship, like an intimate relationship, in that we speak a level of truth in the presence of each other that we usually aren't willing to speak, even to ourselves inside our own heads. And it's a process of reflection, a process of saying the thing that is scary for me to say to you, so that you can see something that you don't want to see. And it's like it's this game of both of us leaning into our edge When I say both of us, I mean the coach and the client. Both of us are leaning into the edge of our fear to explore stuff that we don't want to look at. But Joseph Campbell has that quote, the cave you most fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. And that's the way that I look at a coaching conversation. It's about exploring into dark caves and looking at stuff. And it's a dance, I don't go in with any plan. I don't have like specific way of doing it. I just dance and then with people and stuff emerges, insight emerges, ideas emerge, perspectives emerge. And I look at it as a process of creating something. Like when two people were to dance, what they create is the dance. The dance is the thing that emerges. And something is always created in a coaching conversation. And I never know what it's going to be. And that thing that's created is cool because two things happen. One is that person goes away in their life with that new creation inside their mind, their heart, their soul, and they can see the world in a different way. And because they can see the world in a different way, they have new choices. Like you had new choices. Now you can either choose to help people or you can choose to do something else because you see the world in that way now. And then like they get to create a different life and their trajectory changes forever because of that one conversation. Plus I get to take that thing that we created and I get to go make a YouTube video on it and put it on my YouTube channel. So there's a lot of, just the conversation itself bears fruit, and I love that. So, yeah, that's how I look at it.
Cool. I want to get back to that statement that we talked about at the beginning. Passion is not found, it is created. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, there's, over 500,000 people, I think it is, search Google every month or every year, something like loads of people search for how do I find my passion. And it's happening more and more and more, too. It's like the searches are going up. And it's funny because it's a perfect example of what I would say is when your solution is your problem. And so what I mean by that is if I just need to find my passion and then I'll feel fulfilled. But passion is not something that's found. It's not something that's discovered. It's something that's created and grown. Passion is the byproduct of action, committed action towards something that matters to you. Or you could call it a purpose. And even that purpose is something that becomes important to you because you've been committed and acting towards it for a long time. Caring about something is partly a result of you being engaged with it and playing with it. And so I think that so many people, because they're out there looking for that thing to make them feel, they're wasting so much time not doing stuff that would create a feeling for themselves. Now there's a caveat on that, of course. There is such a thing as doing stuff that's true for you. And if you don't do stuff that's true for you, you're never going to really create that thing of passion because you're always going to have this disconnect. But it still starts with action, and that's why I really hop on that idea of it being created and grown as opposed to found.
Mm-hmm. How do you find out what's true for you?
How do you find out what's true? Yeah. Whenever I hear the word, I'm always like, is that just a different way of searching? I don't think it's a process of finding out what's true. I think it's a process of getting honest with yourself about what's true. And, we've got so much noise in our heads from the world, external stimulation, that noise blocks us from our innate sense of knowing what's our truth. Like if you just were to slow down and to ask yourself the question, what do I know is most true in my heart versus what do I think is right for my head? Like you're going to come up with different answers. And I'm not saying that one is actually more objectively true than the other. All I'm saying is that when you're willing to slow down and ask yourself two different questions like that, you will access different answers within your body. You can feel something is true here that's different than here. And there doesn't have to be any reason why you don't have to say that means anything. It's just the fact that it happens. And my experience is that if you are willing to slow down and find out what's true from a deeper place, and then you act from that place, you create an experience of life that emerges from that place versus this one, and that's the place that gets to feel fulfilled versus this place. Because you could fulfill your head by acting from your head, or you could fulfill your heart by acting from your heart. So I don't think it's about finding what's most true. I think it's about being willing to slow down enough to check in and to feel what you know is most true. I hope that sounds like not a cop-out, but a substantial answer.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I think the question of Sybil goes into that. Isn't a good question what I would do wholeheartedly without pay? I guess it's kind of a statement/question. Would you like to take it?
Yeah. And I can't see the questions coming up, so I'm just gonna. I don't know why my group chat is empty right now. So
All right.
I'm just gonna have to listen to you and then comment on feedback. And so, is there a question, or is it looking just for validation? What is it? What is it again?
I don't know. I can't see her face at the moment, but Sybil is asking, isn't a good question. What would I do wholeheartedly without pay?
Yes, isn't it a good question? Yeah, I think it is a good question. Like, but why? Why is that a good question? Well, I think the with pay is the thing that people put in front of everything that they want to do. Is like, I would love to do this, but I can't make enough money, or but how am I going to make money? And so all those buts come from here. It's not like the heart's like, oh, the heart would love, like, it's not like money's the heart's thing, right?
Mhm.
Passion is something else. And so I think that's probably one of the most common places people get in the way. So sure, any question that removes that is a good one. I like that one that Alan Watts has. I think it's Alan Watts. There's a video. What would you do if money were no object?
Mhm.
And people often confuse that. That means, well, if I had all the money in the world, then no, that's not what it means. It's what would you do if money were not a factor in your consideration? Not if you had all the money in the world. What would you do if money were not a factor in your consideration? Yeah.
So instead of coming from scarcity, coming from abundance. And that's sometimes a really challenging thing. I would guess that fear is a big topic in your coaching as well. I guess apart from from finding your passion. So how do you help people that say, well, I'm just scared of like what other people will think of me if I go down that path, if I do that art that I would like to create, and maybe don't make so much money, so my mother's going to be angry at me, or my family will reject me. How do you work with people who have these kind of fears?
Usually look at them one by one, but it depends. Sometimes, for me, fear is always what I call a black path and a white path. The black path is kind of all of the feel fear and do it anyway paths. It's
Hmm.
like get the courage, force just do it, all that kind of stuff. Break it down into small pieces and chip away at it, whatever. That's all that kind of. And for me, and the white path for me is about realizing the fear doesn't isn't real, and you can just dissolve it, creating fearlessness. Like realizing that when you just orient yourself towards helping and serving, the fear melts away. And I don't think there's one way is the right way, but I like to play with both. I think a lot of times being willing to accept that some of the things you're afraid of are actually possible is an okay way of doing it. Yeah, you might lose all your money. Are you okay? Are you willing to accept that? No? Okay, good. Go back to your job. That's it. If you're not willing to accept there's risk, then go back to the thing you hate and do that. But at least be honest with yourself about it.
Okay, yeah, cool. I just saw that another question got in. What do you do when you're on the road with regards to coaching people in your new location?
Yeah, all my coaching is by Skype, so I am video Skyping with clients, unless I'm doing an adventure. But my ongoing coaching programs are all video Skype. We do video conference just like this, so it doesn't matter where I am or where you are. We can dance. And of course, when I have intensives, like if I sign up a private client for a year or something, we start with a day together, and we'll meet somewhere on a river or on a mountain and spend the day together, so that we get to connect body to body, and then from then on, it would be by voice, by face, and video.
Yeah, I think it's such a beautiful thing. This like that you can use technology in a good way. Like people underestimate how powerful a coaching conversation can be over Skype. Even though you think like, well, it's just a screen that you have, but it's actually you can create beautiful things together, even
Yeah,
though you have this screen in front of you. Yeah,
I
very
agree.
much so. What do you think? Like we touched a little bit on fear. What do you see with your clients? What are like the biggest fears? Yeah, what are the biggest fears that come up for people?
Well, I'm afraid I'm not good enough. I'm afraid
Mhm.
that I will be rejected. I'm afraid that I'll fail and I won't be loved. I'm afraid of not having the money and not being able to pay the bills or the mortgage or take care of the kids. Um, I am. I'm afraid. Those are the basic things.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mm. I love the I'm not. I'm afraid I'm not good enough one. My answer is always to that is, well, it's true. You're not good enough. So now what? People are always like, what? Huh? It's like, I remember, I can see the look in
Doesn't
someone's
really fit into the pattern of like
yeah,
the positive coach,
yeah.
right?
I'm a pessimistic coach. That's my thing. It's like, you suck. You're going to fail. Now what? Now what are you gonna do? You're gonna crawl back into your fucking hole and like whine about it, or are you gonna actually realize that if I'm not good enough, that means I have work to do to become good enough, and so let's get started. Let's go fucking fail because it's the only way to get better so that I can get the thing. I'm not like, oh, God loves you. You're gonna do great. You're gonna succeed. It's like, shut up. You're not going to. The reality is, everybody that's created anything fucking cool in the world has screwed up so many times, and they don't look back at their life and look at it as a series of failures necessarily, but if they actually look at it, there'd be a bunch of false starts, a bunch of things that didn't work out, and it's like, I'm adjusting. My background is in science, and it's like experimentation, physics, and it's like every single scientist spends their life failing, but that's part of the process. They don't look at it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think failing, we talked about that in another webinar, is such an underestimated thing. It's just trying. You talked about passion is created, not found, and I think that really plays into it. It's like, just if you're not sure exactly what you want to do, try stuff out. And that's exactly what happened with the project that I'm doing right now, the Lifestyle Design Convention. Is like I had so many different formats in my mind,
Mm.
and it just like the moment where it started manifest is just when I decided now I'm going to do it, and even more importantly, when I involved the first people into it, when I actually took action. So I think we're very, very much in a society, and especially in Switzerland, where I'm based and where the Lifestyle Design Convention is going to be, people are talking and analyzing and talking about the stuff they want to do, but they're never taking action. And it's
Yeah.
such an underestimated part of the whole dance, as you call it. Not just talking
Yeah.
about it, but actually also do it. Yeah.
It's funny because it's so important to me that people take action, and at the same time, I'm not a results coach. Like, I don't give a shit what results people produce in the world. I don't really
Yeah.
care. And at the same time, it's actually absolutely required for me that they're taking action in the world. And so, how do those things fit together? Well, for me, it's like the stuff they do in the world is just the context for them to move in, so that they can go on an inner journey. That's my goal for them, is to be more who they are when we finish than when we began. And I know the only way that happens is for them to be out in the world, getting their hands dirty, doing stuff. And so if somebody emails me and they're not willing to be in action, there's no point for us to even be speaking. So that's my total focus. But it's the paradox, because I actually don't give a shit what happens in the world, because what I care about is what's happening inside them. Because, once again, I know that if they're out in the world doing stuff, becoming more of who they are, then they will create more stuff in the world without me. They don't need me to do that. So it's a fun game to play, that's for sure.
Cool.
You're smiling, and like I have a sense that you get what I'm saying. So what are you thinking?
Yeah, no, there's another thing. I'm smiling because of the next question that I
Okay,
wanted to
what
ask
is?
you. Is Sybil is asking again, and how to select a coaching school. Um,
You know
and
what I'm gonna say, huh?
oh yeah, I'm just gonna throw that question in. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, there's the answer that I was about to say, but then I was just kind of hearing myself and laughing at it. And actually, I want to give a better answer. So I'll give the first one, which is don't select a coaching school, just coach. And what I would say, even let me give a better answer than that. This is instead of preaching my way, which is to not have coaching qualifications or to not have coaching education, but it's my way. Instead of preaching that, let me slow down and say that if seeking a coaching qualification is something that you're doing because you believe that you need that in order to go do something that in your heart you want to do right now, fuck that. Like, just do what you want to do. Don't let some business person out there that thought, oh, this thing coaching, that looks like it could be a business opportunity. Let me create a coaching accreditation business and then sell people something that they were doing for free before because coaching was an art form, so let me turn it into a business. Like, don't fall into that lie. That's one side. The other side is, if you actually want to go and learn about coaching skills and stuff, like, then do that, and do it because you would love to, not because you think you need to or you're afraid of not having it. And then, which school, pick the one that seems most fun and exciting for you. Like, don't come at it from your head. Come at it from the place in your heart that you will be helping other people to come from in their actions in life.
Cool. Yeah, I think I can completely agree. A lot of people ask me like, what was like the point when you decided you're going to be a coach? It's when I started doing it.
Hmm.
It just happens, and then first you take action, And then after a while, you might decide that, well, I see some limitations in my coaching. I would like to go deeper into it. And then I think it's a very cool thing to do, to broaden your horizon, to do a
Totally.
coaching school. Why not?
Right.
To maybe get another approach, to maybe get more questions in your repertoire, to make your toolkit bigger.
Exactly.
But just to use it as an excuse to procrastinate on actually like taking the decision to do coaching, like just start with coaching. I completely agree on that. Another question is of Marianne. Marianne is asking, John, I love your honest approach. Check yes on all those fears for me. Do you have advice on how to keep taking steps forward when the fear is paralyzing?
Yeah, I would say forget all the steps and just that Taoist thing, the journey of a million steps that ever starts with a single step. So just forget all of the steps and just focus on the next one. On the background of my computer, I have, what would you do next if you didn't give a fuck? That's the question. That's like in huge letters. And it's not what would be all the next steps if you didn't give a fuck. What would be your whole business strategy, and what would all the things that you would do if you didn't give a fuck? It's what would you do next if you didn't give a fuck? Just focus on that. Like shrink it down, because when you carry the weight of all the things you're afraid of on your shoulders, it's overwhelming. So that's one thing that I would say. And the other 1 million things that I might say are on my YouTube channel. So go find some videos on fear. There's loads of them.
Yeah. I just asked Marianne, maybe she can share with us what fear it exactly is. It would be interesting to answer that question. Yeah, man. So Sybil wrote again, okay, John, a school to structure my knowledge and reassure customers. So she wants to...
Ah, yes. Good. Yeah. Reassure customers. You want to reassure customers that you can help them. Reassure customers, give them faith in you, right? And that would seem to make sense. That would be a smart business strategy. But why? Why do I want to make sure that my customers trust in me? What if I can't help them? Well, that would be horrible for me to have some. That would be actually demonic to have a certification that says, here, you can trust in me, and then to actually suck and not be able to help them. Wouldn't it be better to let your service lead? Wouldn't it be better to just start helping people? And if you did actually help them because they experience that they have been helped, that they come back for more? And because they came back for more and they were helped again, that they wanted to work with you? Wouldn't that be better than creating trust through some accreditation or anything like that? That reminds me of this insight I had recently about the word credible. I was doing a talk in London, and people came up asking me about, creating credibility in the thing before they start, and I was just thinking about the idea that you have to be credible before you start. And what does credible mean? I looked it up, and it means worth believing in. And if something's worth believing in, then I'll do it. Once I'm credible, then I'll do it. Once other people believe that I can succeed, then I'll do it. Once I'm credible, that's what it means. And so what does incredible mean? Well, there's the current meaning, which is like, that's incredible, that's amazing, right? But actually what it used to mean, the word incredible meant not credible. It meant not worth believing in. And so how did this word that used to mean not worth believing in become meaning something amazing? Well, what if basically, I would imagine that throughout time, a bunch of people did stuff that people had the opinion was not worth believing in because it's not likely they were going to succeed, but they did it anyway, and because they did it anyway, they were amazed, and so the things that were incredible started to seem amazing. So if that's the case, then in order for you to do stuff that seems like it would be amazing and incredible, then you have to actually be incredible. That means you have to actually not be credible. In order for you to do things that are amazing to you, you have to begin when you're not worth believing in. Does that make sense? It's the first time I've ever said it out loud.
It does, and Sybil just wrote, yes, I agree.
Okay, good.
So I think Sybil, don't take it personal or anything. It's just interesting to play with those ideas. I think I completely can sympathize with those fears. Or those thoughts that people are asking me, like, what coaching credentials do you have and stuff like that. And mostly, for me, I found with those kind of people, I don't really want to work with them. like, or it's not the moment for me to work with them then, because I obviously didn't build enough trust through my own personality or through my qualities or through my whatever, and that's fine too. At this moment in this time, maybe later.
So can I play
Yeah.
with you around that thing for a second?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so there's two things that jump into my mind. One of it you already kind of caught, like you haven't created enough trust or anything like that. You said through your personality and things. One thing I would wonder is like, how is the way you're showing up, having them even be concerned about your qualifications and your certifications? Why are they even asking that? Why is that a consideration?
Well, the thing is, I'm thinking now of situations where I had that problem, and it's actually a situation I've really never had.
That's what I was wondering, yeah.
Yeah, it's and what I would think is that I would have this situation if I would go into this situation with the feeling that I'm not enough.
Right.
With already thinking that, I probably shouldn't coach this person because I'm not good enough, or I haven't acquired enough knowledge or experience in that area, so, well, don't do it then.
Right.
Yeah.
The other place I see it showing up, which is, it sounds like it's not what you're doing, but is when people talk about doing coaching instead of just doing it.
Yeah.
Because if you talk about doing it, then it's like, well, are they good at it? You know. And if you just do it, it's not like, whoa, let's stop this inquiry process. Are you accredited? You know, it's like it just doesn't come up. So it's like, yeah, it's just doing it versus talking about it. I think what makes a difference.
Yeah, and I think if you want to generalize it more, it's like giving value from the get-go.
Yeah.
And I've seen that instead of seeing it as a client meeting where you like acquire the client, just give value.
Yeah.
From the get-go, and it just creates a completely different environment. Also, the second thing that I realized, for me, it's just important for my happiness. I don't know whether it's gonna pay off or not, but what I see is I'm just trying to be completely honest with clients. Also, if I feel insecure in moments where I feel like I don't know where to go next with my coaching, I say, well, I don't know where to go next with my coaching. These are my considerations, and it actually helps us both to create together this dance, as you called it, which I like very much.
Vulnerability is a beautiful way to coach. That's great.
Okay. There was one question. I don't know who was asking that, but what does passion actually mean? Maybe also, what does passion mean for you, John?
Yeah, I like the idea. I ask this question at my talks, and people respond. And passion's a feeling. Passion's about being fulfilled. It's just energy. I think passion is the experience that we have when we're engaged in creation, the pursuit of something that matters to us. So purpose is the reason why. It's the thing it's the reason we're doing it for, and passion is what we feel. It's that feeling of fulfillment. I don't wake up every day and every moment with passion. Like I have passion in this conversation today, but earlier today I was just kind of like lower energy. I wasn't feeling passion. So I don't think it's the same as being happy in life. Happy is more of a sustained kind of consideration of your life, concept about your life, like a sense of being. Whereas passion is actually an emotional energy that I feel often when I'm engaged in doing stuff that I love, like having conversations like this with you. So that's my meaning behind it.
Cool, dude. Yeah, I just shared with you today that I had a very big low point earlier this morning, and it's just interesting in like how it can change when you find out or when you create it. What I would call passion or what I would call purpose, and you tap into it, you tap into giving again. It's just like bling, and you're again back on top of your game.
That's a nice catch, actually. When you connect with giving again, you said, and it's that that's a huge thing that gives me passion as well. It's like that contribution, that giving orientation. By having that outward flow, like you're here, you're reading the comments, you're reading the questions, you're listening to me, you're like, everything about you right now is about like, I want to help these people, I want to make sure John's got like good questions, and I can, and you're present to all of that. Because you're so outward oriented, you completely forgot about like the stuff this morning. And
actually, now I think about myself again.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
It's all right.
All of that horrible shit.
No, there's another interesting question. Hi, John. You mentioned NLP. How much of a role, oh, I'm interested in that, man. How much of a role does that play in your coaching?
Consciously, somewhere between 0 and 0.00%. But of course, if I spent years like studying that stuff and diving into it and language and all that stuff, it's there in the background unconsciously, I'm sure. I can't get rid of it. It's just not in my foreground at all these days. I don't think about it. But I think if you were an NLP person and you listened to me, you'd probably hear articulation and use of language that could be attributed to that. Although at the same time, that stuff came from modeling out people who are exquisite communicators. So it's one big kind of cycle anyway. So I have no idea. It's there somehow.
Okay. What do you think of NLP as like? Would you suggest to people to like acquire the knowledge or to learn it?
I think if it feels exciting to you, then learn it. You know, there's no right path, and it was exciting to me at one point. One thing I kind of frown when I see people do is that when they poo-poo the stuff that they did that before where they are, like, you know, there's people that did NLP years ago and they're doing different stuff now, and they say NLP is shit. It's like, well, you wouldn't be here if you hadn't gone through that. And so, you know, I did NLP, I did hypnosis. I don't do that stuff anymore consciously, but it's what got me into the things that I'm into today. It's what got me to where I am today and doing what I'm doing today. And so I think everything has its place, and if you feel called to something, do it. Don't let anybody judge you or tell you it's a good or wrong or bad path.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
I want to get back to the topic that we talked about, or that this webinar is about, how to find or how to create now, how to create your passion and purpose. I want to pump out as much value out to people. So, like, what should be like if you're not considering now like taking a coach or like working with a coach together, like what can they do? What could be like the first few steps or the first few little questions they can ask themselves so they get closer to their truth, as you called it before? I know it's hard because you're not in the dance right now with the person, and
but I'll give you. I'll share an exercise that I share with people by email sometimes. It's just making a list of 100 things that you would love to do. 100 things you'd love to do. Full stop. There's nothing else in the instructions except that. And well, you mean like for a job? No, I mean everything. Because just the practice of writing that down. It might be I'd love to go and plant a flower. I'd love to make breakfast for my wife. I'd love to travel around the world. I'd love to fly to the moon. I'd love to help starving kids in Africa. I'd love to whatever. I'd love to do all these things. Write everything down. And there's the second step to that. If you want to create a passion, a purpose, something that also provides an income, then the second step to this is to, after you've created that list, don't think about this before when you're doing the first half. I usually don't give the second half until later, but the second half is to take that entire list and to divide it into two lists. And one list is what I call an input list, and one list an output list. And so you take all those things and you put them as either an input or an output. And the input are things where if you did them, it would serve you more than it would serve the world. Whereas output things, whereas if you did them, the result of doing them would serve people in the world more than they would serve you, or serve the world more than it would serve you. And so, you know, it's a continuum. If I, for example, if I played the guitar, it would mostly serve me because I'm not that great at guitar. But if I went and I planted trees, or if I went and I, you know, taught kids English somewhere, like, it would mostly serve others. It would serve others more than it would serve me. And so the things in the output list are the things, at least for right now, because if I played guitar long enough, it might become an output, but for now it's input. The things in the output list are things that, by doing them, I add value to the world. It's a contribution. And it's by adding value to the world that I have the possibility, at least, to have value returned to me in the form of money, smiles, hugs, cupcakes, whatever you want.
Cool. What I like, can I share the questions you asked me as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, what I liked, one that really stuck with me was like, what is your secret dream?
Yeah.
I really like that one as well, and I admit I used it quite a few times also in my coachings now. I think it's a really, really amazing question. The element of secret, the thing that you would not tell anybody else, right?
Yeah.
What is your secret dream? And it kind of takes away the limitations. And and I think what really helped me while answering this question, and what I see with my clients as well, what helps them answering that question is to really be specific about it, to really go to an inspiring place, instead of like doing it in your living room. If you feel inspired in your living room, for heaven's sake, do it in your living room. But maybe you're a nature person, and then really go there, and like, if you want to write it down, write it down. If you want to record it, record it. And that really helps to like just answer that question in wherever that is, in an inspirational environment for yourself. And it's sometimes amazing what just like I often hear like, okay, if I want to find out the answer to that really big question, it must be so I must go through such a lengthy coaching, and so I have to invest so much time, which is actually not the case a lot of times. You just have to permit yourself to answer that question at some point in your life, and a lot of people don't permit themselves to do that. And
Well said.
I didn't do that for a very long time too, and it's just it's a very important thing.
Remember the other question? I remember the other question. If you don't.
Yeah, please do so.
It was what is your deepest and most recurring fear?
Yes, I like that because it's now cool, because I'm like, I have the client perspective as well on that. What happened with me with that question was it made me realize a thing that I realized already before, and I think it's really important to know your biggest fear, so you understand a lot of decisions that you made in the past, and to just be. That doesn't mean that you have to overcome the fear. It just means that you realize in future, do I now take or make this decision based on fear, or what my intuition, I like to call it intuition, what my intuition tells me.
Yeah.
Is it now mind bullshit? Am I rationalizing it as long as so it goes along with my fear, or is it really that immediate thought that I have, and now I put it into action?
Yeah, I think that's true. I also think that there's that the word recurring, I put that in there. What's your most recurring fear? Because I have this idea that if a fear keeps coming up like over and over again, then there's a reason it's coming up. Like, you wouldn't have a fear of falling off a cliff unless you kept visiting the cliff over and over again. And if you're visiting the cliff over and over again, and there must be some desire that you have that's drawing you there. And so behind these recurring fears exist some desires that maybe we don't want to admit are there. And there could be something really deep, something really powerful that we're really being called to.
Yeah, do you have an example for that? Well, maybe that you can share with people so they can...
If people constantly keep feeling and thinking about the fear of public speaking, then maybe you're being called to do public talks. If you're constantly thinking about and feeling the fear of starting a business, then like you're obviously being called to start a business. I always ask people, like, are you afraid of robbing a bank? Do you wake up every day feeling that fear? No, of course you don't, because you have no desire. There's nothing calling you towards that. Like, if you see like an advert on TV, it's like start your own business, and you feel fear, like, that means you're being called. If the advert comes on and you just don't feel anything, it's just because you don't give a shit. Of course you're not going to feel fear. So it's kind of like our compass points north towards the thing we love and points south towards the fear. And if we can become aware of south, we can be like, oh, north is the opposite direction. Oh, okay.
Yeah, fear is the wish. I like that saying a lot. It's a lot of times.
Yeah, fear is the wish.
Yeah, what I'm most scared of is probably what I want to do in my life.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Yeah. Another question was, what is your opinion on Robin Sharma, Tony Robbins? No judgments, just references to have mentors, to have stimulating input.
What is my opinion?
Yeah, so the question would be probably, what would be like mentors or like stimulating input that you suggest to people? Apart, of course, from your YouTube channel that you guys can watch John P. Morgan coaching, which is really, really fucking amazing. You should go now on YouTube and check it out. It's really cool. There is a lot of inputs that we talked about. So many topics that we touch on are also on your YouTube channel. I remember those.
Yeah, cool. I recommend mine if that's what it calls them. I recommend whatever it calls them. Like, I don't prescribe, man. Like, like I said, I don't care about the external. All I care is that you're being you. And if there's something that's calling you, that's what you need to do. And if I was sitting with the person that asked the question, I'd be much more interested in what they're finding within them is calling them than I would be in trying to find something that I think would be good. It all comes down to this idea of trying to find the right thing out there in the world so that I can get to that feeling that I want. The only thing that needs to happen is that you need to stop looking for the right thing out there and start knowing what is it that I want and here, doing that and creating from that place. It's not a place, passion stuff's not the place to get to. It's something that is created by your willingness to just know. And so every single one of these questions is an opportunity for us to dance and to create more of you being who you are.
Yeah, it's just like you can use your body as an indicator. When do you feel the happiest? When do you feel the most fulfilled? When do you feel most in flow? For me, it's right now. It's when I do a webinar, when I create, when I hopefully can share something with people, and it's not when I watch a TED Talk.
Right.
That's cool too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And I think there is the right time for that. And at the same time, if I'm completely honest with myself, if I would just create more, it would be probably more awesome to just like. I learned more in creating this lifestyle design convention that's going to happen next year than by reading any other book in the world.
Easily.
And at the same time, they help me. I'm sure they help me big time.
Yeah.
But and I also agree with you. It's like the taking action part that is so important. Speaking of the convention, guys, really, really quickly, for people who are interested in seeing John live, who are interested in also asking themselves those questions and go into other topics such as like being a digital nomad, maybe traveling the world, earning money while doing that, or seeing Steve Pavlina, you guys might know him live. There is an event that I put together with some of my friends. It's called the Lifestyle Design Convention. And it's going to be next year, 10th and 11th. If everything works out, you should see that offer on your right side now, I hope, or not. We'll see. And otherwise, you just go on www.lifestyle2015.com, and you see basically all the information there about the event. Another thing, if you're interested in these kind of webinars, go on YouTube and just go on this link that I've just posted right now, and you see other webinars that we did about similar topics and also about different topics, asking people, other people asked exactly similar questions than you did, and we just went deep with it. So that's just a little bit about it. I will also forward you at the end of this webinar automatically to the Lifestyle Design Convention webpage, so you can have a look at also John's profile and the other speakers' profile. That's all for the marketing pitch, and we're gonna go back right into it. What I would be interested in because we talked about now, like it's an amazing opportunity. Maybe another question for me would be webinars, YouTube videos, TED Talks. They're great, but why should people attend a live event instead of watching it in front of their computers?
Cool. Good question. Let's think. Well, why do I go to live events? For me, the live events that I go to, live conferences, trainings, it's about absorbing myself into a world for an extended period of time. Like when I also went to a 4-day intensive in LA on leadership, and when I went there, it was like no email, no phone. I had like a little paper notebook and a pen, and I was just inside that world for the full 4 days. And like even for a 1-day event or 2-day event, like just being in that world and absorbed into it. It's a departure from the reality that you're in every day, or your habits and your routines inside your head, and it gives you a chance to have a new perspective on life that's much more powerful. And there's something about the energy of the people in the room, and it creates some. It's not just an idea; it creates some momentum around the idea because there's a lot of emotion engaged in it by being there. There's a lot more energy around it, and I think, and then when I leave things like that, it's like instead of it just being this intellectual concept, the concepts have so much more brevity around them and power, and the transformation that results from, I find, in like weekends like that and intensives, it's something that occurs over time. So like the intensive in LA, like it was over a month ago now, a month and a half ago, and there's still stuff that's changing for me. I'm going back to that because of the emotion around it and how long it was there. Plus all the relationships that you create, the people that you meet. I mean, you come together with people that are like-minded and not only have a similar interest, but a similar propensity to invest and commit to developing their life. And so it's not just interest that you're there. It's like there's a lot of people online that can talk about things that are interested in it, but you're surrounded by people that are action takers that are willing to dive in and actually do something. And so, I've created some really strong relationships and friendships at things like this with people that, those relationships are priceless to me. Off the top of my head, those are the reasons that I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. It's like the connecting with people that people underestimate how lonely it can be when you try to go for more than just the average. And I've seen that from my own growth. It's just like sometimes it's quite lonely to like go for, like, people around me ask me, you want to do life coaching? What? And like stick to your 9 to 5, man. So. For me, it was also a great opportunity, and that's also a reason, I have to be honest, why I created this event, is to connect with like-minded people who are interested in the big questions and also in taking a lot of action, of course. So, yeah, man, I think I really enjoyed this webinar. I really like your mustache, my friend.
Thank you very much. Didn't know if you'd notice it.
It's beautiful. Yeah. And man, first of all, guys out there who attended the webinar, thank you so much for answering questions. The reason why I like this webinar so much, a big percentage of that was your questions. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, John, for being a part of this. I really appreciated the time we shared together. I would like you to ask to stay on for 2 more minutes after this.
Sure.
And it's
great. Thank you. It just flowed. I mean, the time flew by, and I really love your commitment to serving people and then creating this. And I can't wait to be out in Zurich with you and hanging out with everybody. It's going to be a fun time.
Same, man. Thank you so much, guys out there. I'm going to redirect you now, if that works, to the thing. Thank you so much for this natural applause. And have an amazing time, guys. Hopefully see you at 10th and 11th of January next year at the Lifestyle Design Convention. All of you guys, thank you, Marianne, for saying thank you. Thank you, Sybil, for saying thank you. And enjoy your time, and hope to see you at the next webinar. Stay tuned, guys. Bye-bye.